Number 2 in our post-spring Big Ten power rankings. Speaking of national championship or bust, possibly, Penn State. We went back and forth with them for number 1 with Ohio State, but man, it really is kind of like 1A and 1B for me. I think other than wide receiver, because Penn State is obviously they dipped into the portal and they invested heavily in wide receiver and Trevor Pena, Kyron Hudson from USC, Devontae Ross from Troy. Um, but obviously, Ohio State has the better wide receiver room. But every other position on the offensive side of the ball, I think they're better than Ohio State. I mean, say what you want about Drew Aller. He's more proven. He's got more, starts under his belt than any quarterback who's going to start for Ohio State. You look at the running backs they got back with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, probably 1-2 punch, the best tandem in college football.
As far as production, they absolutely are the best tandem in college football.
Yeah, and probably a top 3 to 5 at least offensive line in the country on the offensive side of the ball. I think, and say what you want about James Franklin, but best combo of head coach, offense coordinator, and defense coordinator in the country for Penn State, right?
Ooh.
I mean, James Franklin, Andy Kotelnicki, and Jim Knowles. And I know how much you love Andy Kotelnicki.
I do love Andy Kotelnicki.
And James Franklin is really weighing those two guys down, I feel like.
He kind of is, man, because last year that was absolutely Ohio State. But you might be right, man. I mean, when I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, OCDC and head coach. They might be there. I mean, if they're not number 1, they are right there at the tops of the country.
Right.
But that's where I really want to start there. So I think it's become like the cool thing to do to pile up on Drew Aller. It's like the people in the media, people on social media and things like that, like kind of like people for coach wise, people used to pile up on Ryan Day. It was it was just a fun thing to do. Now people pile up on Lincoln Riley and USC. And I just think it's become the like cool thing and like trendy thing to do to pile up on Drew Aller. Drew Aller absolutely needs to step up in bigger games. Like Penn State fans will tell you that. Any show that you listen to will tell you that. He has not been good in the bigger games. I got a few like stats here for you. In the 3 college football playoff games, the Oregon game and the Big Ten championship game and the Ohio State game. Those are the 5 biggest games that Penn State had last year. Drew Aller was 54% completion percentage in those games with only 6 touchdowns and 4 picks. And he only threw for 160 yards per game in those games.
And I mean, a couple of those defenses, like Ohio State and Notre Dame, like just elite defenses. So, I mean, give him a little pass, but you're talking also, you throw in SMU and Boise State there, right?
Yep, exactly. And like we know how, just booty that wide receiver core was last year. So like I that's what I'm it's twofold. I do think obviously some of it is on him that he needs to be better, but I don't know that how much help he had at the wide receiver position. And then obviously the best competition that he played against. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks looked booty against Ohio State's defense last year and Notre Dame's defense. But I got a little bit of a comparison here for you that I was thinking about that just kind of hit me. You remember a quarterback by the name of Cade Klubnik?
Sure.
He had a first-year offensive coordinator 2 years ago in Garrett Riley. And in that season, Klubnik, former 5-star recruit, came into that year his second year starting, really first year as the whole year as the starter. And he had a brand new offensive coordinator with a new offensive system with Cheeks at receiver. And then Klubnik was pretty underwhelming that year. He didn't live up to the hype. He wasn't as good as what everybody thought he was going to be. And then year 2 in the Garrett Riley system with a better receiving core, year 2 in his system, Klubnik was much better last year. Significantly better. 43 total touchdowns. Now everybody thinks he's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the country coming back. This will be year 2 for Aller in Kotelnicki's system with a legit offensive system with a guy that knows what the hell he's doing with quarterbacks. And now he's got better receivers. I don't know that they're like the best receivers in the country or something, but they're absolutely an upgrade from what they had before. So Can Drew Aller do you think he can make a little bit of a jump like Klubnik did? Do you think that's a decent comparison, how that went down with Klubnik and Riley?
I mean, everyone's expecting him to make that jump, right? I mean, you look at
Yeah.
early 2026 mock drafts, and he's right up there in the top 5 with guys like Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier. So he's got the build. He's got he looks like an NFL quarterback, right? And everyone's obviously going to point to that last throw in the Notre Dame game where he's, just not a good throw. And he had a lot
Yep.
of those, but he made some good plays last year. I mean, he's losing Tyler Warren, which he kind of just tossed the ball up to a lot of times, and Tyler Warren made some great plays. But
Dude, Tyler Warren had 104 catches last year. Do you realize that is more than the top wide receivers for Penn State had combined? The top 4 wide receivers for Penn State last year on their depth chart had 99 catches combined, and Tyler Warren had 104 catches.
yeah,
That's how good that dude is. Shout out to your Indianapolis Colts
yeah,
grabbing him there in the
excited for
draft.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you are, man.
Um, I mean, do we even need to talk about the Penn State defense though? I mean, they got King Mack back from Bama. They've got denied Dennis Sutton. They just signed Amari Campbell, and just embarrassment of riches there for Penn State. So I mean, it's essentially, am I fair to say it's essentially now or never for Penn State? I mean, this is their best chance after a semifinal run last year. This is their best chance to get back to old glory for Penn State fans and get a national championship, right?
Yeah, this is easily the most talented
Yeah.
roster that Penn State's had on both sides of the ball. This is the best coaching staff they've had on both sides of the ball. And this is the year that they've been pointing to. If you want to look at the recruiting class, for example, when Aller and Singleton and Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Drew Aller, Danny Dennis Sutton, those guys were all in the same recruiting class together. And so this is the year that they've been pointing to. I agree the defense is going to should be nasty, especially in year 1 under Jim Knowles. I know Buckeye fans will tell you that apparently it takes 3 years to install his system. If you go look at the numbers, that's not the case at his previous stops. So I agree. It's now or never with Penn State. I don't necessarily think it's fair to use the phrase national championship or bust to them, but I'm sure that for James Franklin, he absolutely needs to win like the big ones this year. Like he needs to get over the hump in those games where they're a slight underdog or they're going into the game, like the Oregon game, for example, that they get in Happy Valley this year. Ohio State, obviously, like it's hard to sit there and say that you need to win that game on the road in Columbus. Like who goes on the road and wins at Columbus outside of Michigan? But I do think that James Franklin needs to make a run again in the playoffs, a deep run. And if he doesn't win the national championship, I'm personally not going to sit here and say that he's a failure because of that. But I understand that will absolutely be the public sentiment from everybody else if they don't win it all this year, but what they're bringing back.